Okay. Thank you so very much for coming. Lori, over to you.
Yes, welcome. It's good to be together tonight. And as we begin this evening, I want to start by first acknowledging that I come to you on the traditional land of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. Today, many Indigenous peoples continue to call this land home and act as its stewards. And this responsibility extends to all peoples to share and care for this land for generations to come. As we gather across the territory of our synod tonight, I would encourage you to reflect on whose land you live, work, and play, and how we can all live into truth and reconciliation and strive to be the best treaty partners we can be. Well, it's wonderful to be with you tonight. My name is Lori Notch, and I serve as Vice Chair of the Eastern Synod. I also join you as a member of the Bishop's Company for Mission. Assistant to the Bishop, Pastor Christy Moore-Wolf, who was instrumental in organizing this event tonight and was to be my co-host, is unable to join us, but we are joined by assistants to the Bishop, Pastor Adam Snook, our guest presenters, who I will introduce more formally shortly, Pastor David Tin and Pastor Mavis Fung. And of course, it's not the Bishop's Company without our Bishop, Bishop Michael Price. So I'm delighted that you are all here, that you're the company in Bishop's Company in this 2022 edition. It's our 20th year. The Bishop's Company was established in 2003 as a lay gathering of extra mile givers, people such as yourselves, whose generous donations have made it possible for the Synod to support new expressions of mission and ministry. And we will be hearing about one such ministry tonight. So we will take about an hour together this evening, and we will first hear from our guest speakers and have some time for questions. And then Bishop Michael will then offer his reflections, and I think he'll take a question or two as well. And we will close with the benediction.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, you call your people to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and welcome the stranger. Open our hearts to the needs of those around us, that we may discern your call to offer care and help to one another. We thank you for the Welcoming Angels ministry, and we ask that you would continue to bless those who carry out this ministry with energy, hope, enthusiasm, care, and warm welcome as they assist newcomers in our midst. Inspire all of us to offer welcome and hospitality in our own communities. For when we do, we entertain angels and witness the presence of God among us. For this and for our time together this evening, we give you thanks, O God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
It's my pleasure to introduce this evening's guest speakers. I first met the Reverend David Tin and the Reverend Mavis Fung from my work on the Synod's Mission Committee. The committee visited with them and the members of the Rhenish congregation in Markham and had an opportunity to see and hear firsthand the work that they're doing. Let me tell you, their faith community is a beehive of activity within, and it's a real community hub within Markham. Pastor David and Pastor Mavis are married to each other, and they serve the Rhenish congregation together. In addition to his role as senior pastor, Pastor David serves as an Eastern Synod Dean of the Central Toronto Ministry Area. He chairs the ELCIC's Chinese Ministry Conference and sits on the board for the University Campus Ministry Ambassadors for Christ. He is a recognized leader, earning an Eastern Synod Leadership Award in 2021 for his service to the wider church. And earlier this year, he received the Queen's Platinum Jubilee Award for his dedication and service to the country. Pastor Mavis oversees the Dorcas Community Center, which is a ministry of the Rhenish Church, which provides community support programs such as English as a second language, access to winter clothing, and even karate and yoga lessons. As Pastor Mavis describes it, it's about transforming lives. She focuses much of her work on building partnerships. This involves working with other charitable organizations, developing relationships with local government officials, and promoting volunteerism. Pastor Mavis also commits her time to serving the wider church as a member of the Eastern Synod Council. In describing her call, Pastor Mavis sees her work as breaking down the four walls of the church to let other peoples outside of the church know our faith by doing Christ's work together with others. Pastor David places an emphasis on Christian education, believing that discipleship and evangelism go hand in hand to spread the gospel. Well, there are many ministries of the Rhenish Church that they could be talking about tonight. Pastor Mavis and Pastor Davis are going to tell us about their newest ministry, Welcoming Angels, a program designed to support newcomers to Canada. Funds from the Bishop Company were used to launch this initiative, which has grown in a very short time frame into a national program supported by the ELCIC, our national church. So welcome, Pastor David and Pastor Mavis. We're excited to learn more about the Welcoming Angel Ministry.
Thank you. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces and new friends. Bishop, thanks for the privilege inviting us to share this exciting ministry with everyone here. Hopefully, we all can be partnered in this ministry and also support the Bishop's Fund. So I'll begin my presentation with a PowerPoint on the background. I think the situation back in Hong Kong is over a century ago, that before communism kicks in and also there was the colonialism taking over Hong Kong. So Hong Kong lived under the privilege of democracy and freedom for a long, long time. But then in 1997, the scenery changed. Hong Kong was returned to China, and the whole democracy platform gradually changed. And in the last 5 years, the change is more subtle and is more aggressive. And so people find themselves lost the freedom, and they find themselves in a way of persecution in many sense. So 2 years ago, almost, that the Canadian churches come together and talk about how should we respond to a foreign, faraway land with a lot of injustice and also democracies under threat. So that talk doesn't come up with much solution because it's a foreign land and the people in Hong Kong are so divided. Some look into the history over a century, knowing the Opium War, how Hong Kong is being occupied, by foreign countries, and some look into more reasons is a democracy and freedom they enjoy. So actually the people in Hong Kong, they're quite divided. So in this delicate situation and much unknown and complicated, Hong Kong is in chaos. So you can see that a lot of protests, over millions of people go onto the street, and no one really have a solution, even when we talk across denominations, across Canada. So we can only lend an attentive ear to hear the situations. And 6 months passed. In May last year, Hong Kong Lutheran Church reached out to Bishop Susan Johnson through ELCA. Is regarding how we may prepare ourselves to receive Hong Kongers. Because in March last year, Canadian government launched a lifeboat policy, which they received a lot of emergency exit people from Hong Kong. We're talking in terms of hundreds of thousands of people. And so me and Pastor Mavis, we've been reflecting with a lot of other colleagues within the Chinese community. How should we best respond to this in the midst of divided thought of the whole situation? At the end, we come down to this simple thing is that everyone, doesn't matter where they stand on the issue, is trying to seek hope and peace for Hong Kong. Whether they decided to stay in Hong Kong and came to Canada, there's a hope they ride on and they want to build peace. Peace as we know it is not just absence of war, but wholeness, prosperity, health, and wellness. So our mission position was born, and we decided to become a welcoming community for the people who will be new arrivals from Hong Kong. And in the same month, May last year, we launched our first ministry with PEI, Prince Edward Island, as an online community doing weekly Bible study. They were new arrivals in PEI, but they couldn't find any supportive community. The population of Chinese is very small. And at the end of that summer, a few families actually finished their required time in PEI and they moved to Toronto. And we begin to speak with various parties of this new launch that we call the Welcome Church Initiatives. And time flies by a bit. It's come to October last year. So we cannot hear any proper or organized response from everywhere, denominations or the community across Canada, or nor from anywhere. But then one thing is that we receive a referral. The first family that we are being referred to look after, and we host the first new arrival family from Hong Kong, which then they live like 46 kilometers away from our church, which is quite far away. Now, through our first contact of this family, which is very pivotal, because they help us to know that like thousands, 10,000, 50,000 of people have arrived, and 100,000 more are going to arrive under the LIPO policy to Canada within a year to two. During their exit from Hong Kong, because it's so sudden, they did not have local contacts, and they were not prepared or to come to a new land. They find themselves alone, uncertain, and struggling. Like how to do the SIM card, how to have the OHIP, banking, phone service, housing, jobs, grocery, transportation, getting a doctor's schooling. Those needs are immediate and also huge. And we share this with Bishop Price. He has offered his excitement, thankfully. It is most important, and encouragement, affirmation, and also the Bishop's fund that to help us to meet the needs right away without any delay. And thanks to the Bishop being instrumental to the launch of these new initiatives to meet the pressing need. And now, at that time, back May, we rename ourselves to be Ministry of Welcome Hong Kong.
So a year ago, we began to lay the groundwork and mainly to making connection and networking. So we began developing our website so a newcomer can find us. And also we do a lot of posting in the Facebook and through other social medias. And we connect with Chinese Special Interest Conference. And we also try to connect pastors in Hong Kong and include them on our online preaching. And we also connect with pastors in other cities in Canada. So our first 2 month work majority like spending our time, our effort to connect and making referral. We try every way we can to expand our network. So since the living standards in Toronto and also the real estate are very high, so we all know. So through our pre-arrival online hosting, we were referring newcomers to other cities like Calgary, Ottawa, Virginia. So in the PowerPoint, you see this young lady we had a connect with and who seek for PhD study and career development in Calgary. So we refer her to the local church members who has the same career field as hers. So she successfully got a job and a place to stay and settle in the local church and start to serving there. So we need a national network for connect and referral. We hope to start a movement of inviting churches to become a welcoming church. It fits right into our ELCIC in missions for others. But what we can do and how can we do it is often the questions. So I'm going to share with you one of the sharing of the newcomer. And she shared that actually, she was very touched by the radical love that we showed to her when we told her that we will find a local church in her next chosen destination, so she will be well taken care. Since it is very different from her past church experience, where she finds church people sometimes very pushy and oftentimes ask her to stay. And oftentimes churches feel the needs are too overwhelming. There are a lot of need to be met and there are too little worker. So again, what we can do and how can we do it as a welcoming church is to show radical love and hospitality to one person, just one person at a time. And you will be amazed how the seed grows and how people willing to join this meaningful cause. So I'm going to give you an example of the connect and referral part. We established formal network with Hong Kong Rhenish Synod. And in January this year, we received our first referral from the Rhenish Church from Hong Kong. And then the referral keep pouring in like a natural growth in planting. And the referral from the newcomer, referral from Hong Kong, and within a month, we have received about 25 new families and a group of college students who hold a study permit. So at that point, a renewed understanding of our work is like we begin with a Welcome Church initiative. And as we grow together, two things has become clear. And first, as we welcome the newcomer with love and support, the newcomer regard us as their welcoming angels. Second, almost immediately, the newcomer have become part of us. Their gifts, their courage, their inspiring story have shaped us and empower and bless us. And they have given us so much joy, and their story touch the bottom of our hearts. And we have actually welcome angels into our midst, and just pray that they become angels to other people around them. So by the end of February, we renamed the Welcome Church initiative as Welcoming Angels.
In 2015, our church adopted the document Welcoming the Stranger, pledging to welcome refugees regardless of their faith background. Many of you have been involved in welcoming refugees in partnership with Canadian Lutheran World Relief for the last 60 years. We talk about being welcoming a lot in our church. It's time for us now to prepare ourselves to put our welcome into action.
Initially designed to welcome migrants coming to Canada from Hong Kong, we hope to grow a movement that will help our church to welcome migrants from around the world who would appreciate and benefit from the embrace of a church community as they make an uncertain beginning in a new land. As a partner in this work, you would commit yourself to help newcomers find local connections in their arrival destination and assist by providing support and meaningful relationships in the settlement process.
And I loved the theme of welcoming angels in this new program, because truly what the Ukrainian people are experiencing now, compared to the smiles, the warm welcome, the friendliness, the warmth of this community, you truly all are angels in what you're doing. So I know this doesn't replace your home, but you're welcome here. I know that we're not necessarily your family, but trust us, you are like family for us here in Canada. And I hope that what you see here in Markham, in Canada, is light, is hope.
Very much. Thank you, David. Thank you, David and Mavis. Love you so much.
First of all, I need to say that why they name me and Mavis more, I think it's the language issue. It's easier for them to just call a bunch of us by individual names, which they cannot remember, and it's hard to pronounce sometimes. So they just keep on picking on the name David and Mavis. The Rhenish word, actually, they find it very hard to pronounce. Okay, just for the record. Okay, so to continue the presentation is that in March, I think we all know that in February, the war broke out. And so through the community, we have come to be aware of Ukrainian families arriving in our local community. The Ukrainian families, they are all young mother with 2 to 4 young children, or they simply come as a young woman. So they are all very desperately in need of food and shelter upon arrival. Some of them are just being stranded at the airport without any one to provide support for them. So immediately we pivoted ourselves. Just so in a second. So we immediately pivot ourselves. Besides the Hong Kong chapter, we opened a Ukrainian chapter in our Welcoming Angels ministry. Started this year, late March, we began to work with only a few people in our local community, and we took on the impossible task then to support settling 6 families into our community. But now we are supporting 60 plus more Ukrainian families settling throughout the city and nearby town. How would that be possible? Because there are over hundreds of people, including Jimmy Lai's congregation here tonight as well. They are committed to the cause. And also we have not only the local community here, Christ Anglican Church in Stouffville and Markham Presbyterian Church and others throughout Toronto. They all step in to provide more and more supports. We are not doing this alone by ourselves. Many people from community knocking on each other's door. And then we also partner with a lot of online community to work together. And we also have the government side of their engagement. There's Markham Mayor Office, Stouffville Mayor Office, City Councillor, Provincial MPP, Federal MP. They all step on board to provide partnership in securing more service and more different kinds of support. And also thankful to the local businesses partnership as well. Dentists, optometrists, pharmacists, food bank, hospital, local business and company, they all step forward to provide free dental service, free medications, and also provide job fair to engage in hiring of a lot of the Ukrainians, even though they don't speak any English language. They just step up and say, it's okay, you don't need to speak English. They're opening jobs for the whole arriving people. And remember one time that because of the pandemic, the medication, the supply from the drugstore are very low, and the shelf for the children medication, they just totally run out of it. And then we reach out everywhere. We finally find the pharmacist has the medication for the children, and the children have a 5 fever. She drove all the way up here in our corner of the place. bring a lot of water supplies for the children, and they just give it for free to the families. So you can see the community really coming together because of this. So struggling together, finding shelters and services is the things we do. But most importantly is to develop of a safe space, a space they can come together weekly to celebrate something that's important for them, like the Ukrainian Independence Day, and also to grieve together, to make sense of what happened since February. And they learn together about English, they share food, Ukrainian food, and as you mentioned, yoga, job fair, gyms, and also 8 weeks of free summer camp, so the moms can start looking for jobs and to engage about English as a secondary language. So now we'll play you another clip, which is the two testimony, one from Hong Kong and one from Ukraine.
She connected to this church through the Rhenish Church in Hong Kong. We came to this church. We received a lot of help. We received warm welcomes, and we received hospitality. The people here was very helpful and kind, and they drove us around and showed us Toronto. We joined a lot of events like Canada Day celebration. We had some beautiful fireworks there, and the community life here is wonderful. We felt like home here. So back in April, I saw on social media that my high school friend Karen, she came to Toronto, and we didn't speak for like 10 years, and we were not even close at high school. Usually I wouldn't do such thing, but I don't know why. At that moment I was thinking that she needs a church to help her settle in Canada. Yeah, and then I reached out to her and asked her if she needs help, and then she came to this church. And later she brought a bunch of friends just over there. I didn't expect that I would believe in God. Yeah. And He did arrange the best for me. He gives me a family in Christ.
Thank God we are lucky to meet amazing people who could really understand the situation we were in. And they tried their best to help us and other Ukrainian families as much as they could. Pastor David and Pastor Maris helped us to deal with paperwork, as it was hard and unclear process for us. One more incredible thing they did for us was they give us a car to use for free until my mom can solve all the issues and have her own car. Also, they provide us with all necessary furniture for our new place. We are moving soon to the flat which is empty. It's huge help for us because my mom hasn't got a job here yet. The amazing thing is that my little brother had an opportunity to attend a summer camp for free. He had amazing time there and made new friends. We feel really safe here, and we know that we can rely on David and Mary's. We feel they are really glad to see us, and we can feel like home.
So all that is make possible is because the community coming together. All the supplies, we have a number of garage now that holds a lot of furniture and household items. And also we have a free to shop store on our church with 2 big rooms. The community bringing together a lot of supplies. Like now, the 2 stores filled with winter clothing and also winter wares, so that the Ukrainians family, even Hong Kong people, they can come in to pick out whatever is necessary and useful for them. So this is a lot of work. We're talking about thousands of people actually coming together now to provide for this support. So as a closing remark is that the whole welcoming ministry is about connecting with the people, hearing their stories, listening to what they really need, and notice what will bring them joy, hope, and peace. And will be doing our best to support them with the resources that we have and to connect more people to come together to provide the support. But this has to be intentional because we can know and hear a lot of needs out there. But being intentional is to make the first move, to talk to them and say and ask, how may I help you? What would be useful? What will make you joyful? What could bring you peace? And listening to them and do what we can. And the final part is referring, because it's about be supportive for them to take their next step. Some of them have already migrated to another location throughout the city, and some are pondering to move to Alberta because they need to figure out in their own context about affordable housing, how to secure permanent status in Canada. And also right now, Alberta has provided a lifeboats policy for Ukrainians. And also the government has stepped in to provide jobs for the new arrival Ukrainians in their province. And some of them are looking for the distant relatives. They find them. Some of them find it from Markham in Mississauga, some in far away like Calgary, even Vancouver. So they need to look into these factors to decide where will they stay in the next step. And so this is why now the whole welcoming ministry relies a lot upon the national and also the global networking of connecting and referral to do this all together. And one final remark is this: for us now, this is not just about welcoming new arrivals, welcoming church initiatives, which is called now Welcoming Angels, is that it can be anyone walking through our door, moving new into a neighborhood, or they've been in our neighborhood for over 10 years, but we never really connect with them. And my congregation learned about this a lot during this whole ministry. Again, thank you for the opportunity. It takes more time than I expected because of the little technical glitch. So pass it back to you.
Great. Thank you, Pastor David and Pastor Mavis. And let me tell you, it was worth waiting for that video. I said the joy in those people, just it warms your heart. You know, I've heard you talk about the Welcoming Angel ministry a few times now, and every time I hear it, you know, I had the same reaction. And it's amazing, as Pastor Mavis has said, you just start with one person, but the hospitality you've shown, it really expresses what it means to welcome the stranger. You know, you can start, because you talked a lot about, you said it started with one person and then you went like literally have got hundreds of people, and almost you said 1,000 people in building relationships. How did you start that? Like, how do you manage all those? It seems like a lot of juggling balls of people to get all those supports in place. What was one step you took to do that, get that going?
I guess at the beginning, there's no master plan. I think we just saw the need and we just jump in, be intentional, not thinking this as like a growing ministry, but really to be welcoming a neighbor. So we start doing this, and the great thing today is about the media. So we posted on our church media in my private Facebook and saying that, okay, we just welcome, this new family, the picture in there. So people just respond immediately, and people knows people. And so they talk about this with other people, and then they started to form a chat group saying that, why don't we help the Ukrainians together? So they call it a home away home group. And so like 500 people just join in to the chat group. It's a Facebook Messenger group, and they start talking about the needs and what we can do. So anytime you say a new family arrived, they need a double bed, and we just post it in the chat group, and a lot of people just join in and offer, oh, I have one with a bed frame, and I don't have a double bed, I have a queen bed. Does it work? And they then start asking, do they need the bed sheetings? Do they need pillows? And just the conversation grow. I think I would say I underestimate how the community actually want to engage, but just as sometimes we have not share enough with the community in the right platform, I would say. And the second thing is to really hear what our community really cares about sometimes, because I think the Ukrainian chapter is something that Canadians cares a lot. And that's why they are also ready to jump in.
So Karen Kroner, for many years, we have seen the incredible generosity of your family and your congregations Do your communities easily make the connection between helping and growing faith?
I think in our community is very dedicated to open our church door for meeting the needs of the community. And when the people come in or we meet new people, and we always share that what is going on in our church within our faith community. And then when they find the interest to come in, and they always find that there is a chance that we can share some story and share some God story about our faith. So I guess for our congregation member to meet newcomer is indeed a chance that they can have an audience to share their own faith. And also we utilize a program called Alpha Program. It's a very friendly program that we can share our faith together with a believer or non-believer, and no judging and just sharing what we thought about the faith. So I guess in this time that we can share our faith story, share our life story, and that is very inspiring to our own congregation member and also for the newcomer into our midst.
I guess the thing is we are using less the word evangelism, but more the words like sharing stories. So we engage our church, everyone to learn to share their stories. It's just like taking away the stress and the burden to evangelize, because there is almost like I need to convert someone, but I don't think it's convert someone. A very easy example is like when my parishioner, the ladies, find something really, really on sale, like a food item. They just go around to tell everyone in the church. I walk by, I can hear them just talking. I say, that's it, just start talking what excites you, happening in your life, in your faith, or in the church, or even in the program. Just start talking about this. There's no burden there when you start. We even take away the word inviting, because it's like when you invite, you got to get someone to come, right? So you say, just go around your friends and start talking. And they will say, oh, really? When and where? And then, yes, of course, then you can extend the invitation then. But basically take away the stress of like, there has to be an end goal of this. So remove the end goals, just live up. I think the word discipleship is what it means. You just live out a life that's who you are and be put on the public, let people see it. And that's it. So I think that is the key thing we equip our parishioners to do.
Iris has a couple of questions. So she said, how do you find out what platform is the right one? I take it you mean social media, Iris?
I want to try this one.
Okay.
Because I am overseeing the Dorcas Community Center for years. I want to get word out to let outside people know what is going on in our church, in our community center. But there will struggle and challenge. But I find the right platform is like, I will cite an example. Sometimes pastor want to promote something in the church, but I won't say it from my mouth. I ask my key leader, find a senior who share the story, who ask people to come. It's more effective from the pastor mouth. And the same way, I find it when I work with the community, and it's a self-initiated community, I know those people, so they get the words out. It's better for me to just send a flyer out. And when they promote our church program or church thing, and we do it together, and it's from the community, from their mouth, and instantly people will respond. So I find it in that way, it's like a personal referral, but because nowadays people are kind of skeptical about church program. They are skeptical about church. Oh, you want me to engage, you want me to commit, you want me to stay. But if it is like the community, we're working together, it's from their mouth and people will respond.
Yeah, I guess one of the Hong Kong gentleman who shared the story at the very end of the video, he now accepted Jesus. But when he first came in January, his girlfriend bring him to us, and he said to us he's very skeptical because while he was in Hong Kong, any invitation to church is either donation or they want you to become a Christian. So that's why they didn't want to. So exactly what platform? I would say all platforms work, But as Pastor Mavis said, we just get our laity, to use the platform rather than the church. Because I think exactly, people don't react well on the church platform. But, it's Facebook. With my individual account, I post it there, people respond to it. But being put on the church Facebook, people tend to not respond to it. And also age-wise, our younger generation use Instagram, use a Discord, right? And the older generation likely use Facebook. To me, it's still young, but again, it's like the younger generation, they already move themselves away from the Facebook. And I saw that question from Iris too, about what intrigue about radical love. I think Mavis, you would like to speak about this, right? What is radical love to us?
I guess we talk about love a lot, and but when there is a chance to practice our love, unconditional love from our Lord Jesus Christ, is because nowadays I think you and I are very self-contained. We don't have much need imposed to other people, so people don't know our need. But for some people, when I think Jesus will give us some chance to show radical love to some people. So when there is a chance, like Ukraine people, they come to our door, we grab that chance and we do whatever we can help. So I guess sometimes there's not much need that we can feel, but sometimes when the need comes, I guess radical love is we go all the way. We use our resources without asking return, without asking them to stay. I guess that unconditional love without strings attached is contagious. People will feel it, people will share it, and they experience, and they will do likewise to other people.
I think radical love, to me, I can share two stories as I begin last year. I call it a praying Lego. We always like to pass it forward, do goodness, right? And sometimes being a pastor, I pray for people. But, when I say I pray for you, people, yeah, sure, pastor, you pray for me. It's like a slogan, right? So I started to change that at my home. When I say I pray for people, people wouldn't know. So I start putting together a Lego, small one. So as I do the Lego, I have a person in mind. I pray for that person. And I make that Lego, and I put a note on the Lego, and I deliver that Lego to the person. And tell the person, say, when I do this Lego for you, I was praying for you and your family. So the person can see the prayer in actual concrete form. It's not just that I pray for you, they don't know it's like 10 names in 5 seconds, right? But this is like they know it's an hour into it. So they know that I pray for them for an hour. So this is the kind of radical love, is just push a bit forward. And you heard about Ukrainian families sharing their story. One of my parishioners, not my car, by the way, they just give them for free to use for 2 months because they haven't got their own Canadian driver license. They only got international driver license. They cannot yet buy a car, and they cannot get their own insurance. So they need a vehicle to go around to do the things. So we just give them a car to use for free to do the things that they needed to. So this is the kind of we go all the way, not just, I think this love called the convenience love. I'm cooking, so I make a bowl of soup and pass it on. That's a convenience love because there's something, right? But radical love is to let people know you really go out of your way, and they can know it, they can see it. And they really know that you really love them and care for them. So that's the difference to us.
Well, thank you, Pastor Mavis, and thank you, Pastor David. As you talk about that radical love, you realize the hope that has brought to those people that you have welcomed. And it's just, we've heard that in the video from those people. And as you shared, it's not just so much that we welcome them, that they become part of us and part of our community. We become connected with them. And then in the end, they end up shaping our stories too, because we're shaped by theirs. So it's really heartwarming to know that the funds from the Bishop's Company for Mission has provided that kind of initial support and initial kickstart to your program, but truly it's the work that you have done and taking that first initial step that you've all told us that we need to be doing in our ministries. And what you've done is created angels in our midst. So thank you for that. And thank you for your presentation tonight.
And wow, what a blessing it's been. I've had the opportunity to be at 2 public events connected with Welcoming Angels this year. And I'm telling you, I floated my way home. My heart was full. Just wonderful to see this kind of discipleship in action. Thanks all of you for coming out this evening. It's wonderful to share this time together. And I want you to know that your presence and your encouragement mean a lot to me and to the Synod staff and leadership team. Thank you, Lori, for being our host this evening and bringing us all together. The Bishop's Company for Mission, as Lori said, it was born 20 years ago. Can't believe it. From the realization and the encouragement of Anglican colleagues, I might say. I'd been invited to speak at a whole series of Anglican Bishop's Company dinners in the early part of this century. And they said, so what do you do? And I said, we don't do anything like that. Lutherans don't like that kind of stuff. And they say, don't be a coward. There will be people, if you invite them, they'll do this. And lo and behold, it's happened. And so the Bishop's Company for Mission that many of you support provides a means where lay people such as yourselves can give a second mile visit or gift that allows me to make some much needed and speedy discretionary investments in the life of our church. This past year, your gifts have been used for a variety of such purposes. You helped launch this Welcoming Angels initiative that you heard about this evening. And I remember the phone call from Pastor David and Pastor Mavis saying we want to do some outreach. There's a group of migrants, newcomers that are in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. That was one of the designated places where folks weren't allowed to freely go where they wanted. And David's church very quickly provided a support network for folks there. Said, we have some needs there to help those people in their settlement. We want to put up a website. I said, I can send you some money. There's a group of people called the Bishop's Company that give me money to do these things. And the next week, a check was out. This past month, you allowed me to bring back one of the keynote speakers from our Synod Assembly from 2020, Jeff Chu, or 2021, who led us in an evening of prayer and reflection with people across the Synod. You allowed me to provide worship resources. We've got a new evangelical Lutheran worship supplement called All Creation Sings. It's a marvelous resource. And so the retreat centers that I use across the Synod in hosting retreats, 2 primary ones, I was able to buy those resources so that they're there when we use them. You funded that. This past fall, I've started doing in-person visits with rostered leaders in our 17 ministry areas for prayer and pastoral conversation and to encourage greater collaboration. At all of those events, we share a meal and you pick up the tab for that. And they're so delighted when I say to them, there's a group of committed lay people here that give me the resources so I can take you out and have a nice meal together. They're really grateful. In the coming year, you're going to be helping to fund a program across our Synod that's going to train facilitators to help our church have community conversations about matters of racism and racial justice. It's work that we feel called to do, work that I hope that our church is going to embrace, work that we need to do. You're helping to fund the training of those leaders. And lastly, as always, you've given me discretionary resources that have allowed me to provide support to pastors who are experiencing expenses related to some unexpected medical or personal crisis. We had 2 events this year where people ran into big troubles with Immigration Canada, partly pandemic related, partly just the chaos in the department themselves that put their families in very, very precarious situations. Because of your generosity, I was able to step in very quickly and help them secure legal counsel and advice that brought much needed stability to them. Thank you for allowing me to share those blessings on your behalf. I couldn't do any of those things without you. Your gifts really do and continue to make a big difference. And if there's anyone here this evening that is not yet a part of the Bishop's Company but would like to, I'd welcome your support. If you'd like to talk about it, fire me an email. We can get together on the phone and I can tell you a little bit more about what we do. So thanks for your participation, your support of our church and of our synod. Thank you for the vote of personal confidence that your presence and that your gifts represent to me and those who work with me in the synod office. And thanks for the generosity of spirit that brought you to be here with us this evening. It's been really great to have this time together. And so thanks, folks. Great to see you all.